Hello, and welcome to a reading of White Album 2. We are actually going to be reading through the PlayStation 3 game booklet. Remember back when games weren't all digital, and they all came with little booklets that told you how to play, a little bit about the game, a little bit about the characters? Well, White Album 2 has had one as well. This will also go along with the mini after story. So, firstly, checking out the cover here of the PS3 booklet, we have Kazusa and Setsuna. Interesting because the texture of this, obviously with the printing of the game booklet, actually changed a lot from the original texture. So it's almost like a square, granular sort of texture overlaid on top of the original watercolor paint looking style. Interesting. Cheaply done. I mean, I'm not saying it looks better, but interesting. This is White Album 2, The Other Side of Happiness Handbook. Now, I'm not going to read through all of the little things that aren't important. The health precautions, be careful, don't get a seizure. Stop playing if you feel dizzy or nauseous, or, well, you might feel a little nauseous playing through White Album 2, but just be careful. Now, on the right-hand side, we have the contents. It's broken down into story, characters, controls, starting the game, playing the game, and user support. This is the PS3 version. Make sure you run the different updates, etc. So, what we want to do is we want to see any and all information that could give us more canon information on the White Album 2 story or characters. Every different piece of media that has information behind White Album 2 gives us an opportunity to view the game from a different lens or to possibly get a few insights because everything that's published officially has to be canon, unless it's specified that it isn't. So, reading through Story, Introductory Chapter. I heard a song traversing the cold wind, joining the guitar that I played that evening in the music room. Joining the piano that someone whose face I didn't know, played in the room next to me. The voice from the roof, high, clear, and resonant as a bell, connected our scattered melodies. That late autumn was where it began. Someone fell in love with someone. We gave it all we had. We had plunged ahead with powerful sentiments in our hearts. Single-mindedly, earnestly, honestly. We all joined together on the deepest level and found something irreplaceable. And so, someone fell in love with someone. A love one step too late. A love that should never have happened. I love that line. That line is so beautifully written. A love one step too late. It's so good. Don't wait. Don't wait. If you have something on your mind, just say it. And that winter, the snow piled up and covered over all of our sins. Then, at last, as the snow melted in spring, our punishment fell upon us. What a story. Listen, this is the most convoluted and abstract story summary I have ever written or read in a game book. What the heck? Usually it's like, Crash Bandicoot has to go get all the crystals to save the world. This one's like a poem. An interesting way to do it, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing either. It's kind of nice. But then we get into characters. Ogiso Setsuna, or Setsuna Ogiso. A girl in a league of her own who has dominated the Miss Hojo High contest for 2 years running and seems to be on track for a third. In contrast with her showy appearance, she is calm, sociable, and reserved. In a word, flawless. Flawless. That's all according to perspective. At least, her personality has led her fellow students to believe as much for 3 years straight. Only those who manage to break down her invisible walls will see her impish smile. Her hobby is karaoke, solo karaoke to be precise, though she has worked at all costs to keep this hidden. For whatever reason. Her standard opening number is White Album, a popular song from some years ago. Gosh, this is, of course it says it, but this is introductory chapter, so everything was so different back then. Moving to Kazatoma, an anachronistic delinquent. That's a mouthful. Always dozing in her seat by the window, constantly late or absent altogether, bearing a gloom that adults just don't understand. Her keen beauty, long, glossy black hair, a figure that would put any model to shame, almond-shaped eyes, contrasts sharply with her solitary, violent personality, forming a vicious cycle that only widens the distance between her and those around her. But she puts up a strong front of being completely unbothered by this. Though no one has ever asked, she would be on team Rina Ogata. Oh! That's what I mean. That's the little tidbits of information. You never know where you're going to learn more about the characters. Rina Ogata is one of the main characters from White Album 1. So there you have it. We learn something new every day. Over to Kitahara Haruki, who does not get his own character picture here. They were very, what would you call it, secretive about what Haruki looked like in the beginning here. First term class president, a member of the light music club, in charge of second guitar and odd jobs. His special skills are incredible officiousness, flawless lectures, and perfect preparation for theoretical arguments. What a nerd. His grades are top class. Thanks to his uncompromising, service-minded personality, he is heavily idolized by teachers and students alike throughout the school. Having his mind set on going out with a bang for his last year of high school, impulsive though it may be, he formulates a plan to perform at the upcoming school festival. He is fairly clumsy with his hands. It's funny because you can write Haruki in a way that makes him look really good, right? Like, you can still say he's a really good student, he gets good grades, but he has a passion, and he wants to make sure his school life actually means something, so he decides to pick up the guitar as a hobby. That makes Haruki sound a lot more relatable and a lot more chill than this paragraph does. And then we kind of just zoom in to closing chapter all of a sudden with Koharu Sugiura. First term class president, former vice captain of the tennis team. Serious, reliable, comforting in the kind care she shows to others and her tendency to have just the right advice to give, which is so important, which I'm still personally working on, but being able to give good advice and help others through tough times is such a good character trait to have. In other words, the spit and image? Is that what it's supposed to be? Spit and image? I thought it was spitting image. I have to look that up later. Of a certain other someone. Her size overall, beginning with her stature, is unassuming, but she makes up for it with her positive, assertive personality. She has a tiny bit of a complex, but she never shows any weakness. She has many friends, in particular a very tightly knit group with 3 other girls in her class. In this relationship, too, she takes a leadership role and cannot sit idly by if one of her best friends gets hurt. Yeah, well, if only her friends did the same for her. Continuing on with closing chapter characters, on the left we have Izumi Chiaki. An archetypal college student eschewing the seat by the window in favor of bringing a sleeping bag into the seminar room and crashing out. Lazy, lethargic, the very picture of dependence. Though she has managed to progress this far in school through swimming with the tide and skillfully latching onto others, the recent increase in reports for her seminar has put her promotion to the next school year in a precarious state. Apparently, once she finds something that genuinely interests her, she gets so engrossed in it that she forgets to eat or sleep. But no one has ever seen this side of her, so it's hard to be sure whether this is true. Aww. Again, it feels like the person who's writing these character profiles are writing the worst possible things about the characters. Like, you could just say that Chiaki is lazily adorable and likes to fall asleep in the sun and whatever, but no, they put the focus on she's a leech. That's so mean. Mari Kazaoka, a magazine editor working for Kaio, a mid-sized publishing company. At roughly the age where calling her young would be misleading. Excuse you? She's not even 30. But she cannot rightfully be called a veteran either. She is the most successful of her contemporaries, men and women alike, and is a top prospect for future editor-in-chief. She is such a workaholic that there are none who can claim to have seen her sleep. I mean, how many people would see the boss sleep anyway? And an object of envy, jealousy, respect, and fear from those around her. But no one would have a chance against her anyway, so that doesn't mean much. Couple that with her severity, and you have the perfect example of a woman who is so high up that men don't even attempt to approach her. Because she's too good. She's amazing. But it doesn't even focus on, like, well, she's really passionate and serious at work, but she has a cute side to her. She gets embarrassed easily. Like, they should let me write the character profiles. I would be a lot nicer. Takeya Izuka, leader of the Light Music Club, was in the same class as Haruki in their first year by sheer rotten luck, from the latter's point of view, and they have enjoyed a complicated, approaching terrible, relationship ever since, with Takeya proclaiming himself Haruki's best friend and pushing all kinds of problems onto him, including girls he himself has broken up with. This is so mean. What the heck are they talking about? They don't have a terrible relationship, especially as of introductory chapter. Yeah, they tease each other like all friends do, but who wrote these? Honestly. His polished looks and his ways of speaking and acting that seem to promise little trouble further down the line give him an easy air that is popular with girls. It's said that he has a girlfriend in each class, but there is only one boy whom he calls his best friend. He was much more serious in the past, but only one person knows that particular truth. They barely even mention Io in his paragraph. Ugh. Terrible character synopsis. Io Mizusawa, Setsuna's classmate and the former captain of the basketball team. While she was in the same class as Haruki in their first year, the presence of another player whom she had stuck with since middle school caused Haruki to forcibly maintain the relationship she'd been hoping to cut off, and so she has spent 3 years. Boy, howdy. Also, maintain the relationship she's been hoping to cut off. That's, like, I don't like that. That's not entirely true. Io was never ready to cut off Haruki during those times. It was never once mentioned that she was. With a frank personality, a tall, slender build, boyish looks, and the love of the girls below her altogether, she is rightly popular in that direction of things. While she fully believes the relationship between Haruki and Setsuna is mismatched, she keeps a fairly lenient eye on them. What? No, she doesn't? What? I'm like boggled right now. She never believed that it was mismatched. She did believe that after everything went wrong, that maybe Setsuna should move on, yes. But what the heck is this? I'm like, these don't even seem like they were written officially. I know they are. It's an official thing. That's what I was just saying earlier, but still. So, starting the game, all of these special controls and things like that, I'm not going to read through because they're very, very simple and obvious. We're only going to look through additional information about the characters and the game itself. But it is interesting to see kind of what it had looked like at the time and how it was explained, as a game, as a PlayStation 3 game. The in-game choices that they have, some of them are darkened if you can't actually make them. And then playing through the game. If you need Aquaplus user support, aquaplus.jp is still around. But we cannot answer questions regarding the game's content. They will not answer you if you ask for X character's favorite food. So this is the cover and the back cover of the PS3 version. This is the Aqua Price 2800 version, which just means that it was 2,800 yen. I don't want to look anymore, but I have to see it through. I heard a song, Traversing the Cold Wind, joining the guitar that I played that evening in the music room, joining the piano that someone whose face I didn't know, played in the room next to me. That voice from the roof, high, clear, and resonant as a bell, connected our scattered memories. Melodies, well, not memories at all, melodies. That late autumn was where it began. Someone fell in love with someone. And it's interesting the different screenshots that they decide to add on the back cover. I always find that interesting. The hands! The hands is one of the biggest parts at the end of Kazaoka Normal. And yet, we don't know that. We just see two hands. You don't really think of it until you go back and you play that, and then you see this back cover and you're like, oh, they put it right there. Absolutely insane. So crazy. When one person seizes happiness, there is always sadness for another behind it. White Album 2, The Other Side of Happiness. And then the back cover has the 3 side heroines on it, which I think is a really neat way to do that. The game disc itself had art on it, which I think is pretty cool. It was a full color art disc, and they used this art of Kazusa, which I feel like her eyes are much bigger than they always are in the game, so I thought that was an interesting choice for them. PlayStation 3. That's the end of the PlayStation 3 disc. Then we move on to the White Album 2 mini after story. The mini after story disc is flippin' gorgeous. This is so beautiful. Look at how well this is done. Look at all the colors. Look at the shading of this and the detail in their eyes. They just did such a good job with this. I wish their cute little heart, their hand heart hadn't gotten blocked off by this big circle, but White Album 2 mini after story. And then, of course, the outer cover, the box of the mini after story here, which has the full image. Look at their heart. Look at the snowflakes in between. Everything about the design of this is so cute. Really, kudos to this design. Kudos to every part of it. It is so beautiful. From Aquaplus. And that is the end of these two. So, thank you so much for reading through the PlayStation 3 and mini after story. Little booklets and covers from White Album 2, even though the PlayStation 3 summaries made me want to tear my hair out at times because I just didn't feel like they were accurate. Really surprised about that. And I'll be back reading more official White Album 2 materials in the future. So until then, hope you take care. See you!